Before we get going, for the new viewers, my name is Brando, founder of Brandlux Media. We are an e-commerce growth agency specialized in paid advertising, content creation, email marketing, and conversion rate optimization. If you're looking for a growth partner and you want a free audit, feel free to book a call down below. Now let's get going. In this video, I'm going to talk about the exact strategy that multiple 8-figure e-commerce brands use to actually scale to multiple 8 figures. There's always a difference between the companies that are able to scale aggressively and fast and profitably and the companies that don't. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the two differences so that you can utilize the same strategies and the same framework and approach within your e-commerce brand. With no further ado, let's get right into the video. Great, so let's get into the video. Now, if there's one thing that I've noticed throughout the years, throughout my e-commerce years, my marketing years, where I've been studying a bunch of markets, a bunch of companies. If you look at the big companies that are now basically selling everything, they have the entire market share, they can sell whatever they want, companies like Amazon or whatever, what most companies do, and even if they're not selling multiple products, what most people started with is basically one product with one specific market solving one specific problem. And so sometimes whenever we spread each other too thin and we just try to essentially go all in on literally many different types of products within a very saturated market, what the market sees is just a company that is confused, that is not established, right? And so you have to see kind of like your market as a red ocean. I'm sure you guys know the difference between red ocean and blue ocean. And so as I've been studying markets and companies, including my companies, I've noticed that the companies that are able to scale really aggressively and still be basically a small go from like a small business to a medium-sized business, aka over $10 million a year in revenue, they all started with a niched approach, like a very niche approach. And we also have to consider that if we go too niche, right, then we don't have enough market and perhaps we get capped with revenue, right, because the market potential is just not there. But typically the approach that I like to that I've seen really work well is going after a very huge market. Let's just say beauty, right? $1 trillion, billion, multi-trillion dollar market, whatever the numbers are. And then once you follow and go after that that very competitive and rich market, then you start like niching and then sub niching. And so there needs to be like a very strong category, and I have like certain examples here to show you, like skincare, apparel, beverages, whatever. So we can go through some examples, but you have to consider this: like, if you don't differentiate yourself from all of these other people, that some of these brands basically have the majority market share, right? And so if you don't have a way to differentiate yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to just go into a market and just see profitable ads and profitable ad spend. It's just really hard. If somebody's spending $1 million a month, do you think they have more resources, more data, just more everything compared to you? Of course they do, and that's why they beat you within an instant. And so that's why whenever you sell products that that are winners, sometimes you need to take a step back. And of course, creatives are important. Your marketing approach is important. That's really important, and it can make it work. But I'm just saying, you can make your life a lot easier if you go ahead and choose another market, okay? Or not another market, but like a sub market or a sub niche. That's what I mean. And I can go through some examples. So you have to start seeing, let's just take the skincare example here. So all of these, by the way, are real life examples. So they're not just invented examples. I've literally seen brands scale to like multi 7 and 8 figures with these exact strategies and approaches. Okay, so these are not invented. So this is an example of, like, let's just say we're taking this market is beauty. So we're going after the skincare. So this is a niche of a market. So, or a category, call it whatever you want. So you're not doing all beauty, you're not selling hair care products, you're not selling body whatever or facials, whatever. You're selling just skincare products. So this is already helps. So if you're specialized in skincare, it helps instead of selling everything at the same time. But on the other side, this is still a huge market, like extremely competitive. And so I came across this brand, and they were absolutely killing it, like 4 or 5x ROI on their ads. Their organic foundation was like blowing up. They were making like multi 7 figures with extremely high profit margins, like 35% or more, and it was extremely profitable. Could have they skilled like more? Of course, but they just didn't have the capabilities and the knowledge, and so we consulted them and whatever. And so this brand was selling skincare for black people with a Catholic foundation, or like a religious Catholic foundation. The target basically was Catholic black people within the U.S. And so it's not that their ads were essentially saying, "Praise God with the skincare product." It wasn't like that. It was more of like instilling the foundation that all of the UGC creators were black, right? And then within the marketing and within, the marketing message and the the why of the company, about us page, everything, all of that religious aspect was instilled into like the secondary components, not like ads up front, right? But when you create your own little market, black people, skincare or hair care, or just like a specific solution, then these people will be way more geared towards going, you know, to you, compared to going maybe to a company that is 100 times bigger, that sells everything and that is not really specialized. So specializing in one specific sector within a market and a sub market or a sub niche is going to really, really help you. And so what ends up happening is that how many companies are going to sell skincare products to black people that have like that promote a Catholic kind of like background, right? Or marketing message or whatever. And so you're, instead of having a billion competitors, you're maybe gonna have like two, three, four, five, 10, whatever, a handful. And so you will get your market share. So this is just an example. Okay, and let me just move on to wine. So we see a company over here. Now this is actually an example of a client that was not really able to scale to multiple seven figures. And this is not because like they had the wrong approach at seeing this. They actually had a great approach. They were selling wine, so spirits, wine, but it was the company was more based on like that gothic. It was, I can't really say the brand name because I don't want to, do anything here. We have NDAs, but it was like vampires, right? And so they were like promoting the idea, like all of, essentially their product was essentially like for vampire lovers, right? So it was gothic, but it was also promoting this kind of like other vibe. So I can't go more in detail than that. And so what ended up happening is that we scaled the company to like even a seven-figure run rate, but it was only during a specific time period. So during October, of course, Halloween and stuff like that. And so this was kind of very limiting. So this is, I think, also an example of just niching down even too much, or going after a niche of a sub niche that is just too small, right? So maybe if they would have kept it more general, including the way that they branded their products, which also matters, right? The way that you brand your products. If the name of your brand or the way that showcase your product, meaning the branding, is just like way too like subcategorized, then it doesn't attract the mass. It just attracts that persona. And so what ended up happening is that we did scale to a seven-figure run rate, but it wasn't sustainable in terms of like the revenue wasn't at that seven-figure run rate every month. It just went kind of up and down, and there was a lot of inconsistency. And when the market is not huge, right, there tends to be some more inconsistency, right? If the market is huge, there's way more consistency in sales and trends, etc., 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 right? And so this is like a perfect example of like maybe going a little too much. If they maybe would have gone after just gothic, that gothic vibe, then perhaps they would have more market share. Okay, now let's go over another example with apparel. And this, by the way, brand that killed it, doing like $20,000-$30,000 a day. That was kind of like the scale of the business. So not a huge brand, but still a very, very well established brand. And so they were selling apparel for religious people. Now this is not on purpose that I just connected religious and religion here. It's just the sake of the example. And so they were selling t-shirts with religious verses, right, from the Bible. And so as you can imagine, this is a very, very like um, passionate subcategory of apparel. And so once again, the apparel industry is huge. And so since the apparel industry is huge, they focused on selling basically t-shirts and hoodies, not everything, not pants, not shoes, not whatever. It was basically mostly t-shirts and hoodies. And then so they subcategorized, and then they went even deeper, just going after the Catholic kind of example, right? So going after religious people. So this absolutely killed it. And they were running basically just image ads, carousel ads, nothing like super special. They were just testing a bunch of products. So essentially how it worked is that each product was basically, each verse was essentially a different product. So they were launching like 20, 30 designs a week, and they scaled the winner. So this was a very successful approach. Okay, so hopefully you understand what I mean by this. Another example, before I go on into a diagram, another example here is that if you are going after a market that is, let's just say, US, and you see that you want to test a product within the US, you know that it's going to kill it because other people are making millions of dollars a day, but once again it's just really saturated. And so one other approach that you can take as like a subcategory or like sub niching or finding your own market is kind of going and doing the same thing, but for smaller markets. Like for example, why is this doing like that? Whoops, let me do it again. But for smaller segments of the market, like for example, Sweden or Germany or whatever. And so, instead of going after the entire world here, you specialize just in Germany or whatever country you see fit and where you see an opportunity. And so what ends up happening is that even if it's kind of a red ocean because it's a competitive market, you're going to find way less competitors to compete against, right? Which will increase the likelihood of profit, market share, revenue generated, cash flow, consistency, and stuff like that. And now I'm not saying that if you want to start a skincare company in Germany, you should just stick there. This could be a stepping stone. From Germany, maybe you expand to other countries, and then from there you can expand to other. As you start getting more market share, um, you can start expanding your marketing and growing. Okay, so these are just some examples that hopefully you got the point from there. But once again, once you find your market and your subcategory, then it's just a matter of like adding products to that market, like showcasing that product to more products that solve like a similar industry, or sorry, a similar problem to that persona, right? And so then you scale horizontally with products, and then of course, as I always like to say, you should scale with marketing angles. And so marketing angles are just ways, pain, solution, problems, just ways that you're promoting and pushing your marketing. So I always like to say there's a million ways to promote a product. If you can sell this product in 100 different ways, in 100 different marketing angles and positioning statements, it's going to be way easier for you to scale instead of just selling this water bottle and saying this is just good for your health. Instead of doing that, you should say this is good for your health. This is convenient because it's small. It's good for people that love athletics and running because it keeps you hydrated, right? And so you're going after different segments. Hopefully, I'm not confusing you there. This is a whole other subject, but this is probably the next step. Once you identify a market within a market, within a submarket, or whatever I just said above, then this is the best way to scale horizontally to make sure that you get the most out of that market that you decide to go after. Okay, so this is a short video, but I just wanted to give you foundation of what I've noticed, of where companies start that eventually scale to 8 figures to get more and more market share. And so this is really going to make your life easier, because there's lower competition, and this will allow you once again to get market share. So let me know if you have any questions about this. This is kind of like a super high level understanding of how companies scale in an easier way, let's just say. And a lot of these companies that start like this are also just bootstrapped, right? So they don't even need funding, because typically whenever you go with these markets that are less competitive, the ROI on the ads is like higher. Like we've worked with companies that was selling skincare in the US compared to companies selling skincare in Europe, and the ROI on the ads on the front end was always higher, like 9.5 times out of 10 it was like higher in Europe, or whatever the market was less competitive. Okay, so take this with a grain of salt, but also try to implement these principles within your market. If you're trying to having a hard time to like scale, try to position your product in a very like non-saturated way, even if the market potential is huge. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. If you own a brand that is doing at least $40,000-$50,000 a month, all the way up to $100,000 a month or more, and you want to partner with a growth partner like us, we're actually offering free consultations, free strategy sessions, free audit sessions, call them whatever you want. It's going to be either with me or somebody else on my team. So if you're interested, feel free to book a call down below, and see you on the other side. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and see you in the next video. Bye.
On a further note, feel free to book your strategy session with our team by clicking the button down below. In this session, we will audit your brand, come up with a custom plan of action, and then we'll explore the opportunity of potentially working together, assuming it's a perfect fit. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means a lot, and hopefully see you on the other side.